Exactly. And I find that, along every hero's path, along every successful person's path, every role model, you see that there are barriers in the way. Like if there were no barriers on the way to success, then it wouldn't be called success because everyone could do it,
Sure.
right? So
Hmm.
you look at someone like Kobe, you look at someone like Jordan, you look at someone like J.K. Rowling, like all these heroes had their specific barriers that they went through. Vince Lombardi didn't
Hmm.
really have to deal with poverty as much as J.K. Rowling had to go through. But even
Hmm.
though all these people had their barriers, they never made excuses, and they
Hmm.
had this. There's this really great quote that I really like. So someone said, here, it was actually right here. It says, working hard and having discipline, it's really hard, right? Like it's really hard to do.
Hmm.
But at the same time, so is, not working hard. If you're not working hard and you're just relaxing, the pain and the regret that you feel is also hard, like eating
Hmm.
way too much and and overeating, that's hard because you feel the regret, but
Yeah.
also maintaining the discipline of a diet is hard. And the only thing is you must pick your hard. It's not like there will never be struggle. It's like you must choose your struggle, and your struggle should
Yeah.
hopefully involve the growth that comes with being a hero.
Yeah, absolutely. And now my thinking has evolved to take that exact same framework you're talking about and apply it to comfort zones. Is that going outside of your comfort zone is incredibly difficult. Putting yourself into a situation where you do public speaking or make sales calls or whatever it is that makes you feel uncomfortable. Staying within your comfort zone is just as hard as venturing outside of it. It's just a different pain you're dealing with, because either it's going to be the potential that you get rejected outside of your circle, or it's going to be that little voice in your head that talks to you saying that you'll never be able to get outside of there. So like you said, you got to pick your poison, and one of them is going to lead to growth. The other one is going to keep you trapped forever.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you talked about, which I mean personally, so this year I'm writing a book that's called
Mm.
it's called Break Your Bad Habits in 150 Pages, The Hero's Journey.
Hmm.
So obviously that was why
Hmm.
I was so interested in having you on here.
Sure, sure.
One of the important parts of the hero's journey is that you must travel outside of your known land, outside of your comfort zone. And what you described
Hmm.
it as was the chaos zone. So I would love for you to describe
Yeah.
that a little bit.
Sure. So lots of us know about your comfort zone and just the area outside of that that leads to learning and growth. I forget the researcher, and I apologize for this, but what there was some researcher that identified it as the learning zone or your comfort zone, and then that area just beyond it is the learning zone. But if you go too far, then it's the chaos zone. This is the situation where to use a sports analogy, it's like 12-year-old Kobe taking on Michael Jordan, on the Bulls. Like he's not going to learn anything from there. He's just going to get rocked. But 12-year-old Kobe taking on other 12-year-olds his age in America that maybe weren't as good as the ones in summer camp, like that's where he's going to start learning. In Italy, he was in his comfort zone. Like there wasn't the same level of competition in Italy as there was amongst American kids. And so now that he was playing with 12-year-olds in America again, that's how he was able to learn. That's how he was able to grow and become a better basketball player every day. Um, this we see this all the time with like New Year's resolutions people. They always go from being in their comfort zones to being in the chaos zone, and they try to go from not exercising at all to trying to exercise every single day. It's never going to happen, and you need to take those slow steps outside your comfort zone in order to learn and grow and see that you have the capability to do this.
Yeah, so actually, just to clarify, because of course, I love to keep this informational. So, G.F.
Sure.
Colvin was the guy who called it the chaos
Yeah.
zone, and I thought that was such an interesting way of thinking. So imagine, I think we all go through this, and this is probably the second barrier of taking action and making some big change. I must tell you, last night I was, I was sitting and I was looking at my goals, and I made goals for the week. And I write down my goals. I get all excited about my goals, but sometimes I set
Sure.
goals that are a little too high for myself. And
Yeah.
I looked at it And last week, I didn't achieve any of my goals. And
Mm,
partially was because I try to step way too far outside of my comfort zone. And I think
yeah.
that's such an innate part of us. I think that's such a big flaw that we have, that, you know what, I could say, you know what, I haven't worked out in 4 years and I eat so awful and all these things, but tomorrow I am going to work out for 3 hours. I'm going to only eat kale.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like our brains aren't wired for that. I agree. It's too far in the chaos zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And bringing it back to the hero's journey and venturing outside of the status quo, like all of the best stories are the ones where they face challenges that are just beyond what they're currently capable of, because that's what allows them to rise to the occasion and overcome whatever obstacle in their path is, and then come back and learn and grow and become a better person in the end.
Yeah. So I
So
think,
I love
no, keep
I
going.
love the fact that you contextualize goals in that way, and that you can see every single day like that, and achieving whatever goals are on your list like that as well. And if you can just keep reining those in a little bit, and overcome that human desire to not only set goals that are too far, but when you don't hit those, say like, oh, I'm going to make up for it by making even more progress on it next week or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So there were two things actually. So Dan Coyle in the Talent Code, and this was obviously from your book, he said that success from 60 to 80% of the time is the sweet spot. Because if you're
Yeah,
succeeding
yeah.
100% of the time, then it's too easy. But if you're succeeding
Hmm.
40% of the time or anything lower, it's like, you know, you're making it a little too hard for yourself. You got to be able to achieve them a little bit more, have that good feeling of getting goals. And I think
Yeah,
the most incredible thing that I like, this blew my mind when I was reading this. You just referenced it right there, where there's something wrong with us in the fact that when we decide to set a goal, so there was a study, right, where some kids said that they were going to go and work out for 20 hours in a week. And actually, I would
yeah,
love for you to finish this because, you know, you were the one who wrote it.
yeah. You read it more recently than I do. I don't remember the details, but if you want to fill in the details later, feel free. But they set a goal to work out 20 hours per week. I think only like 10% of them actually were able to
Yep.
hit that, and the 90% that didn't, the researchers thought, okay, they tried to work out for 20 hours a week. They didn't do it. So what they're going to do is learn from that experience and say, oh, maybe I can try out 10 or 15 hours a week. Maybe that's more realistic for me. But instead, they on average went up to 25 hours a week. Is that right? Am I getting the details right on that
Yeah.
one?
So their average was they it on actually they did 8 hours a week on average. But
Yeah,
when they made their goals for the next week, even though 90% of them failed, they said 25. They were going to work out 25
yeah.
hours.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone listening to this right now can totally relate to that. Is that, if you set a plan to eat extremely well this week, and for whatever reason you have a cheat day, life happens, you get stressed, and then you just decide to treat yourself. You don't say, oh, okay, this is probably going to happen again. I'm going to get stressed again in the future. Maybe I should plan a little bit less strictly so that I can have these situations where life gets in the way. No, you say, I'm going to eat even more perfect next week. And that's so much harder than what was already pretty much impossible for you to do in the first time around. Again,
Yeah.
I don't know what the situation is with our brains, but that's the way we think.
Yeah.
And
It makes
the best way to overcome this is to when you set all those goals that are too much for you, the best thing you can do is just be self-aware about those things. Just write down, okay, these are the reasons why, and then be honest with yourself about, like, are those things going to happen again in the future? Because we plan for the perfect best case scenario playing out throughout the week, where we're going to have perfect sleep, we're going to be extremely energetic, we're going to be extremely motivated, not we got bad news, or there was an extremely anxious election that took place, or whatever. is happening in the news today. And those things get in the way, and we need to be able to learn and adapt from those things in order to actually become the people that we want to be.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the better solutions from, like you get all this stress, you get all this anxiety, the answer is not to make it more, right? I think the biggest problem that any of us have, I think the biggest one is going to the gym, but it's more of breaking any bad habit, creating any good habit. We start off with too much intensity. We say we're going to go 20
Mm-hmm.
hours a week, but what's wrong with going 4 hours a week,
Yeah.
And if we make it shorter, if, what I personally did was my whole problem, my whole life was I made it too intense, but I wasn't able to make it consistent. The problem is always consistency. It's never intensity. So what I did
Mm-hmm.
was I used, actually, you referenced in your book, the Jerry Seinfeld method. And all it
Mm, yeah.
is every single day you do something small, right? So Jerry Seinfeld decided to write one joke per day. That's it. And
Mm-hmm.
every single time he wrote a joke, he put a little X on his check mark on his list, and he essentially made a streak. So after 20 days, after 15 days of making a streak, your
Mm-hmm.
pride gets too much in the way. You really don't want to break that streak. So even if you're tired, even
Yeah.
if you're exhausted, you're still going to want to do that. I did that personally for my workout routine. I woke up in the
Mm-hmm.
morning and I said, for my morning routine, instead of driving to the gym 5 minutes, then working out for an hour, and then going for another 5 minutes home, then showering, I'm going to get on the floor and I'm going to do one set of as many push-ups as I possibly could do. And then
Sure. Sure.
I'm going to do I do like hanging from a bar, one set
Mm-hmm.
of that. In total, it was a 3-minute workout, but I'm going to do it every single day. And then
Sure.
after I was able to do that, I think I did that for 60 straight days because
Mm-hmm.
I lowered the intensity and therefore increased the consistency. Then I started adding, now every day I do squats, right? Every day I add on
Mm-hmm.
another thing. And by the time that you make such a consistent habit, then you could build on it and build on it. And then eventually, if you're using this long-term strategy, this long-term approach, then you're going to be able to have that full 1 hour workout with the consistency built into it.